My guest today is Ben Bolger. He's somebody that I've played rugby with in the past, and I know some of his history and career. He's been involved in financial planning, providing services. But the bit that I'm interested in exploring today is how he's moved into the space of financial literacy and building a tech startup with no prior tech experience. Ben, great to have you here today. I've done a bit of an introduction there, but help me understand that. What has been the catalyst for you moving from being, I guess, services-based, supporting clients and helping them understand their financial options, to now working with students and schools and parents and various other stakeholders when it comes to financial literacy? What was that catalyst or moment for you where you said, you know what, actually, I want to do something different with my life. I want to spend my time in a different way. I want to have an impact or make a contribution. Talk me through that.
Yeah, thanks for having me, by the way. No, I think my journey, in a way, is sort of happened by accident, but also intentional at the same time. And I sort of contradicting myself there. But I mean, like you said, I've worked in financial services, or I've been a chartered wealth manager, certified financial planner for the sort of last 10 years. So I've built up obviously a skill set and an understanding of personal finance. Um, but realistically, I've really always enjoyed sort of education. I'm quite a curious person. I'm always looking to try and find ways to continue learning personally, and trying to build out on others. And I initially started looking at trying to find a way to potentially provide sort of financial education to adults. And in a sense, I felt like it was starting to it sort of falls on deaf ears a bit. Like I think the adults have my belief is very much financial literacy, and or being good with personal finance is very much about habits and behaviors. And by the time people are adults, habits and behaviors are quite sort of set, and it can be quite difficult to challenge to change. So an opportunity around where I got introduced to a teacher who'd been working on a sort of very manual version of what my company or our company called Squirrel today is, and hearing the story of how children are really engaged in the manual sort of economy, or the sort of virtual economy that he sort of set up within his classroom. We were like, we've got to find a way to one, help more children, and two, make this less labor intensive for the teacher. So we embarked on that journey because I think that for us, we have found so much more sort of value and also passion around trying to find a way to go to the sort of grassroots, or the root cause of the issues or the majority of the people around the world have with their financial planning, and finding a way that we can hopefully build a solution that will set these children off onto a completely different path. So, like I said, I mean, it was very fortuitous that I got introduced to Matt, my co-founder. Obviously, had sort of a number of years' experience in the sector. So, I suppose one of the things that I always try and do in life is put yourself in a position to be lucky, and I feel very lucky to have been sort of given that opportunity to have that conversation. And we've just spent the last sort of 18 months, like you mentioned, two non-tech founders building a tech platform, but it's been great, very well received, and really, really sort of like I think I got to a point where working in 10 years, I always loved working with my clients, and I still do. But I mean, in a sense that you have the same conversation, and you're dealing with the same issues all the time. Where I really found that sort of myself sort of revived in a sense, and I'm jumping out of bed because the overarching goal is bigger than just myself, right? We really are trying to tackle something that is a global problem. So that was a very long-winded way to say where we are, how I've got to where we are today, but massively enjoying the journey that I'm on.
No, it's great to hear about it, and it leads nicely into the next part. You mentioned there now being in a position of jumping out of bed in the morning and having that passion, and that, yes, after you've done something for a period of time, it can feel repetitive, and it's like, okay, yeah, same people, same types of conversations, same challenges, same issues. Okay, I can completely understand that from the work that I've done previously. So the question that I have for you then is, now that you are a startup founder, what does freedom look like for you? You mentioned the contribution and having an impact in the bigger picture, but is freedom for you now about having more control over your time? Is it about being able to spend your time on something that has the potential to make a positive impact? I'm interested to understand your perspective on what freedom means for you and the types of things that you look for in your life.
Yeah, I suppose again, sort of going into the role that I was like playing rugby, and then going into the role that I did as being a child, like a child wealth manager. I mean, you sort of run your own business within an organization anyway. So I've always sort of had that freedom. I've never really had a you have to check in at 9, leave at 6 sort of job, right? I mean, that's never something that I've ever had to deal with in my life. So I've always had that freedom of my time and my diary. But I think one of the things that as I've grown, and I read that book, Ikigai, maybe you might have come across, but I mean, just sort of finding your purpose in life and trying to align with things that you're good at and contribution to the world and stuff like that. And I think freedom to me is I think one of the big parts of that book is not getting to the point where, I mean, where you feel like I'm going to get to that point and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to live my life, right? Like it's freedom to me is being on a journey that you can see yourself doing consistently for as long as possible. Now, I feel that even if we were to build this business and we got acquired and stuff like that, like I wouldn't be ready. I wouldn't want to walk away from the mission that we're on, right? I could see myself contributing to the mission of educating children about personal finance and really trying to do whatever I can to set as many children on the road to a more fulfilled and independent life. Because for me, I think I'm learning that especially sort of have you have children and your whole life sort of your perspective on life changes. It's committing to stuff that is bigger than yourself, and for me, that's what freedom is. I like a lot of people sort of have it like you sort of alluded to. So I've have it in their head is like I really want to work really hard, and then I'll get to that point where I've got freedom because I've got the money to do everything that I want to do. Well, I want to live the life that I aspire to live. And don't get me wrong, I'm a human being. There's nice stuff in life that I want to do, and there's challenges that I want to do, stuff with my family I want to, but still do that while I'm on this mission of doing something that's bigger than myself. So I suppose that's what freedom is to me, and what I suppose as I've grown up and matured a bit, what I've come to sort of see that is in my head.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, again, read similar books, and it's like delayed happiness of putting it against when I achieve this, when I do this, when I have this amount of money, then I'll be happy, and then I can just sit back and relax. It's like you're always chasing something rather than actually appreciating what you've got right now. And I think having that appreciation of the journey as well, that it can be ongoing, and it probably should be ongoing, also helps you to deal with everything else that's going on in your life. So it's great to hear that that's actually your perspective. You found something now that you want to engage with, and you can see yourself doing it for the long term. Being a tech founder, how are you finding that so far? What's been your biggest learning and your biggest challenge so far? Because listeners of this podcast, they may be trying to break free of the 9 to 5. They have that vision for themselves. It's like currently, yes, I may be in a situation where I'm clocking in and clocking out and doing the 9 to 6, but I know, for the freedom, it may be that I need to start thinking about creating my own business or a side project and growing that. What's been the biggest learning and challenge for you moving into that position of being a tech founder?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, if I put my hands up, I don't have really a technical bone in my a bone in my body, right? Like I just and to be a tech founder, like I don't know how to code. I don't really, yeah. I mean, the understand sort of the network and stuff like that. I mean, I'm learning a lot as I go, right? So I suppose that is difficult. Is understanding like, okay, so I mean, look, for those people that might be listening and feel you understand this from a rugby perspective, I have been and played rugby long enough to know that what a front rower does or a prop does, right? I've never done it myself, but I know what a good one looks like, right? And what I found very challenging when building a tech startup is like, right, I'm being told I need this person, this person, this person, but I have no idea of the skill set or how they can demonstrate their competence in that sphere. So I think the biggest challenge is making sure that you do whatever you can to align yourself with people that who are going to give you uh, push back on your thinking and look out for your best interest. Now, when we were looking at outsourcing our technology initially to get that built up before we had like a CTO and stuff like that, we we tendered out to a number of different companies, and lots of companies really sort of lower end, cheap end. I'll build you this in for X, and then obviously the like things like 10 times what the other company. And what we decided to do and what we felt most comfortable with was trying to find people that weren't just going to be order takers and say, you tell me you want this to be built, right? And we'll just go and build it. Trying to find people who are going to push back and say, well, in our experience of doing this so many times, we wouldn't do that, right? We would focus on X, Y, and Z, and that served us really, really well because when we first launched the platform, I don't know if you've ever seen the film Moneyball, but when Brad Pitt sort of he can't go to the baseball games because he's so nervous and he goes to the gym. That was me on that Monday morning when we first launched the platform. I was strolling up and down, turned my phone off. I was thinking in my head, I was like, the thing's going to blow up. Like we're never going to get a second chance. Blah 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 blah. But it served us really well. Not just trying to just get something done with people who are just like, yeah, we can do it for you, and really trying to sort out those people who are going to push back on your thinking, and in a sense provide the or in a sense provide the knowledge gap between your product and our thinking and how we can sort of, yeah, like I said, collaborate to get the end goal. So I suppose as a non-tech founder, there's so many things that's happening that you need to consider. So it's trying to find the people around you who can then plug those gaps. And we've then gone on to find someone who leads our tech for us. And that now gives us so much more of a cushion because that person's aligned to make sure we're making the right decision and stuff like that. But initially it was just do whatever you can to find people who can plug those gaps for you.
It's great to hear that because one of the things I talk about in the 12 chains is knowledge. And actually it's lack of knowledge that can hold us back from building or achieving what it is that we want. And I talk about filling the knowledge gap. You've taken us that slightly different approach of rather than gaining the knowledge yourself, you found the people and brought them into your network who can give you that support and guidance because they have the knowledge, and absolutely is a good way of doing it. So building from that, you now have, you mentioned sort of a CTO in place and you've done the first versions of the platform. What's next in terms of the business growth? Is it try and ensure that kids generally have access? Is it try and get it into individual schools and having conversations with them? Is it going to, education authorities? How are you approaching that?
Yeah, I guess again, one of the things you learn is you just got to keep running as fast as you can, running as fast as you can, and essentially we went from hoping that maybe we might get 3 to 5 schools in our first year and maybe 1,000 students to finishing the year with like 20 plus schools and 5,000 students. We started this year already with like we're probably onboarding by the end of this month 12,000 students, so we doubled in size, like 30, 40, 50 schools that will probably be on in the end of the year. Like it's there's that growth in terms of trying to get out as many different schools as possible, but also building a sustainable business behind that to make sure that we're in a position to continue to grow and expand. I mean, our ambition. I mean, think about financial literacy is not like an isolated UAE problem, right? Like the biggest, most developed economies in the world, their populations still struggle with financial literacy. So it's a big problem to tackle, and our ambition is that every child on the planet has access to squirrels. So now that doesn't happen overnight, and building a tech startup is very expensive. Very expensive. So we need to make sure that we build a sustainable business around that to keep driving our expansion and aligning with the right partners and like you mentioned, using what we're doing as case studies to approach different government bodies or education authorities and grow that way and realistically align as many align with as many sort of partners who believe in the same vision with us to try and address this problem as big as we can, I guess.
Nice. And taking a step back, you fill the knowledge gap by finding the people who can support you, on that technical side and potentially push back and say, actually, maybe we'd do it this way based on our experience. So that's one type of conversation and filling the knowledge gap. I'm interested to understand the conversation with friends and family when you said, you know what, I'm going to go and be a tech founder. And obviously making a change from what you were doing previously into this new space where you've said there was a knowledge gap and you're not a technical founder. I'm just interested to understand that experience again for people listening to say, you know what, I want to make a change. I want to start something. I'm worried about these conversations or the pushback from friends and family. What was that experience like for you?
I don't know. I suppose I didn't really feel the impact of that, and because growing up, I've always been quite ambitious. And I think the people around me have always known me as someone who is an example of this would be I don't like I've never done a triathlon before. I'm going to sign up for an Ironman, or like I've never I didn't because of rugby. I didn't get my bachelor's degree. I'm just going to do an MBA. I've always sort of tried to strive for the best I can be all the time. I suppose the people around me know that if I commit to something, then I'm going to do it. And I think when you that doesn't mean that your decision don't impact the others around you, right? So I think that navigating those conversations is about going back to what we said and explaining how this isn't something that I'm trying to do to necessarily just make a quick buck in an opportunity. This is what I can see myself doing for the rest of my life, right? So I don't think there's many people who can push back on that conversation and say like, if I dedicate the rest, like if I said to someone that if I want to dedicate the rest of my life to doing this, then I would be really happy. I mean, I don't know what someone else would potentially push back and say. I mean, so I think that you need to be sure about what it is that you want to achieve. Now that doesn't say that you don't go out and try and start and be prepared to fail. I mean, it's very interesting. I went over the summer. I went to Silicon Valley and I was on a conference in Silicon Valley and it's sort of like going out, trying, startup and failing. It's sort of like a badge of honor there. Like the conversation around failure is so different. Sort of like you're so respected for what you went out and tried. Because I think in that ecosystem, everyone's gone out and tried and failed and started again and got back on and stuff like that. So I think that from my perspective, align is do what you can to align. Like think about, is this something that you can see yourself doing? Even if you don't get that initial quick success that Instagram and social media explain how starting a business is like, overnight stuff. If you didn't get that, would you still stick at it? And then if you can then verbalize that round to the people to those people, I'm sure they'll come on the journey with you. And then just don't be scared to fail. I mean, the statistics obviously talk about startups and the high failure rate of startups, but it's just that constant learning all the time that you pick up. I'm a different founder now than in the short space of time that I mean 18 months. So I'm just miles different, right? So it's so much more valuable. Like even as we progress in the company, or maybe make a different decision to go different directions, I'm able to do that based on so much learning that I've done in that last 18 months. So just not being afraid of trying and going out and thinking that that is gonna be any net like a negative impact. Like I said, the Silicon Valley, the sort of the home of the startup. If anything, that is sort of thought well upon, that you've gone out and given it a try. So that would be my advice, is just is align with what you want to do, and if you can, and then just go for it and enjoy the ride, I guess.
Yeah, it is. We're all on a journey. We don't know necessarily what that looks like, ups and downs, twists and turns. Interesting for you, saying that perspective on failure. Is it really failure if you've learned something? It's part of the journey. I now look back and say, actually, everything that's happened, the ups and the downs, happened for a reason, because it's got me to this point. And all the knowledge that I've gained and the experience that I've gained has enabled me to get to this point. So if you do try something and it doesn't work straight off the bat, is it a failure if you've learned something? I would say not, because it enables you to make changes moving forward. Building from that and thinking about failure, learning, development paths, have you had to make any changes to your mindsets? Again, because of the situation that you're now in as a tech founder, you're trying to grow the company, you're working potentially with outsourced partners, you're building a team internally. I asked that because from my understanding of your previous role as a financial planner, you said, financial services, yes, you're part of a bigger company, but the onus is largely on you to deliver, potentially against targets and quota, and, quite, I guess, independent in terms of managing your diary. Now, I suspect it's a very different situation. You're building the team, you're building the platform. Are there any mindset things that you've had to work through as part of that journey over the past 18 months?
I guess that there's a couple of things. Is the first one is that, if anything, like when you become really passionate about it, something, I suppose this is not necessarily answering the question of switching from being in a corporate environment through to, but I mean, from a mindset change, um, when you start a startup, you are just so inclined to just want to work every hour God sends to just to get it off the floor. And one of the things for me is being just being mindful of not going from that sort of world where, like, it uh the weekends and stuff like that. Whereas you go into staff and you want to work because you want to, but it's still being very mindful of the people around you who are supporting you on this journey, to make sure that that they get the bit the time and the care that they deserve from you, and there's that element of it. And also, I think from like I said, working whilst in a big corporation, but very sort of silo, like it's and this is the bit that I do enjoy, but just bringing so many more people into the environment to work on it. I think sometimes as a startup founder, you can be quite protective of what you've created, and don't get me wrong, I think you've got to be sure about the people you bring into the business. But I think that if you can open your mind to understanding that the journey is going to be better if you can bring great people on the journey with you, and being humble enough to go out and find all the people that make you look like, in a sense, that you're in a room and you like that sort of saying is, you want to be the person who is the sort of dumbest in the room, right? You want to be that, and that's my ambition, to bring as many quality individuals and bring them into a real sort of collective environment. And like I said, like that inspires to me. And you walk into something that you've created, and you're like, I've managed to get this person, this person, this person, this person to come on the journey with me, and this is what we're trying to achieve. So I suppose from a working in a corporate environment, sort of relatively sort of silo into that environment, is just being very open in terms of like just bringing it as many people you can who can really make an impact on the journey with you. Because I think, like I said, we said at the beginning, is that journey, and not seeing there that like an end point to that journey. I think think world makes us think that we've got to be overnight celebrities and overnight millionaires, and that's not, in my mind, that's not the way to a fulfilled life. Like, I mean, finding something that you're happy to do for the foreseeable future is really, like we've mentioned at the beginning, is what freedom means to me.
Amazing. I guess just to build on that, it's if there's no journey involved and you reach that sort of destination in inverted commas overnight, you don't appreciate it because it's like, oh, well, actually, I didn't have to do very much. This was super easy. Great. Okay, what's next? If you've had to go through that journey, overcome some of the challenges, take those steps, you'll probably have a greater appreciation of whatever it is that you've been able to achieve. And I think that then, as you said, is part of what will enable you to keep going for the long term. It's like, I've put in the blood, sweat, and tears to get to this. I still have that passion and that vision for where I want to get it to. If it was done in the click of a finger, again, it's just like, oh, okay, well, what's next? What am I moving on to now? I've ticked this box. I've completed this level. Great. Okay. A very different mindset of, what achievement means. Okay. So going from transition corporate to tech startup and founder, building that team, what would you say has been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome so far? Has it been finding the right people and being able to bring them on that journey and I guess show them the vision? Has it been fundraising? Has it been the conversation with the schools?
Yeah, I surprisingly, the school element hasn't been an issue. I mean, like I said, we've managed to bring on some amazing schools that are really sort of forward thinking, wanted to drive real life applicable skills to students and be on the forefront of driving change in education. I think we face the same issues that every startup faces, right? Like you're always trying to grow as quickly as possible, and you're looking at what's coming in and what's going out, and trying to make sure that aligns. And then I think trying to find people who potentially, like I said, like are aligned with your mission, and are prepared to be patient for that, as opposed to, we're not in a position to go, do you know what, like we can offer you a huge salary and straight off the bat. I mean, that's not where we are at all. And it's trying to find people who are willing to come on the journey to see the big, because they see the bigger picture. But not just anyone, people who really contribute to the journey. And I think we're fortunate enough that we're in a position where personal finance affects everyone. Everyone has their own story, right? And a lot of the time, if I had if I had 10 dirhams for every time someone said to me like, "Oh, I wish we learned about this in school," right? Like we literally have enough money to never have to do a fundraising round ever again, right? Like it's genuinely people like constantly understand the need for it. So when you sort of explain what you're doing and why we're doing it, you can really sort of connect with some people. But like I said, like you've got to make it work for them and work for us. So yeah, we don't face any, like we face the same sort of challenges that a lot of startups face, and it's new ones every day, right? Like if it's fundraising or trying to reach that partner that you've been trying to reach, and then you feel like you get a meeting, and then like, do you know what, like we'll push it back a month. And yeah, we face the same issues that a lot of startups face. But yeah, it's just, like I said, it's just all learning, and it's fun, and you just need to constantly just be problem solver, right? You've got, like, it's nothing, no issues too big that's gonna sink you with that mindset. Like you just literally just got to be like, well, what's the alternative? What do we do now? Like let's just keep moving forward. Just be quite resilient about it. But like I said, it's been, I mean, 18 months, 2 years in, and it's just been amazing experience so far.
Fantastic. I think useful for people to hear your perspective there and say, yeah, it is about resilience. There'll be things that we have to overcome. We have to look at it from the perspective of these are obstacles. How do we overcome them? Not this is an obstacle. I've got to stop right now, and everything ends, because you'll never get to where you want to get to if you take that approach. So, yeah, useful to hear that. Coming towards the end of the time together here, what would be 3 tips that you would give to someone based on your experiences if they were, again, sort of corporate currently, had that vision for themselves of actually, what, this is what freedom means to me, whether it is time, whether it's finances, or it's location, or being able to work on something that they're passionate about? What 3 tips or pieces of advice would you give to someone who's considering taking that leap of faith and saying, you know what, yes, I want to start something myself and work to grow it because I have a passion for it?
I really do highly recommend reading that book, Ikigai. Like, and spend some time thinking about what you think that your purpose is in life, and it'll break it down into the 4 quadrants of like what you're good at, what you can get paid for, how you can make an impact in the world, and there's another one off, but go like, and it's look, I think spending some time thinking about like what would you do if you had to, you could only do one thing again, right? Like, I mean, and where possible, try and scope that out, map that out, what that could be, and is there an opportunity to build a business or start something within that space where you feel like you're getting close to your ikigai as possible. I think the second one would be don't don't think that you're going to be able to potentially do it all by yourself, and be open to bringing people on the journey with you. I think, one, you're going to be much more successful, and 2, I think you're going to enjoy the journey so much more. I think as human beings, we're programmed to think we're programmed to be social beings. So I think you'll enjoy the process more if you can bring people and like-minded people on with you. And I suppose the last one is a failure is like a badge of honor. Like I said, like I had a complete mindset shift about when I went to Silicon Valley, right? Like I said, it's it's so important to not let what the world sort of deems as failure infiltrate your head, right? And stop you from going out and just giving things a go. Like, I think that most of the time you're going to be in a position, even if things don't quite work out, you're going to look back on that time and go, it was worth it. Like, it was important for me to have done that. Like, I've ticked that box. Maybe it's not quite right for me, but I've ticked it. But there's another chance where it completely changes your life, right? So just in a sense, like, don't let don't let what other people think that, or what the world perceives as a failure, affect your decision making of going out and creating a life, or committing to a life that could really change your outlook on what you would do the rest of your life, or change the way that you spend the rest of your life.